Hello and welcome to Beheaded.
This is season 6, episode 3.
I'm Megan Moore.
And I'm Elizabeth Black.
After a very chaotic tech setup, we are here.
We did a lot of new things with our tech tonight, trying to make it brighter for the YouTube and closer with the cords. I don't know. Everything was falling.
Everything was falling. Nothing was stable.
We've talked about how we call Megan slips sometimes, and she does a great job with everything. But there was quite a few tumbles of tech tumbles, if you will. And I was joking because I just got a new notebook. As you guys know, like I made it through 5 seasons with the same notebook. I finally got a new fresh one today. Listen to this.
It's beautiful. I actually really like it too.
Thank you. I know, it's beautiful.
It's black.
Yeah.
Describe it for
it's
those who are not on YouTube.
Okay, that we're derailing here from our whole conversation.
No,
it's a new black notebook, and there's like purplish peonies, I think they are on the cover, but it's very matte looking. Like they're not like corny grandma peonies. They're very like dark academia looking peonies.
Very Elizabeth Black.
Thank you. I really love it.
I love it too.
So first page, like first story that I put my notes in, and as soon as I was like, Megan, I really like my new notebook, like everything falls and the wine bottle kind of like teeters. I was like, oh my God, of course the wine's just gonna go all over my new notebook. But it didn't happen.
It didn't.
Did not. So
I know. I set up this tripod like 3 times, and then I'd like turn away, and it would just fall over. A lot of cords happening right now, but we're so close to getting our new setup, so it's going to be a beautiful day when that happens.
Exactly. Thanks for, again, all of your donations. We shouted some of you out last episode. We'll do another shout out on this episode. But thank you for everyone who's contributed. We're going to get new tech, and we will avoid these situations.
We will. Well, I feel like we're also out of our groove a little bit because it's not our normal recording time, but for reasons. Fun stuff.
I am actually leaving in 2 days' time to Costa Rica. I'm so pumped.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Costa Rica since high school. It's been forever. I did actually like a summer kind of exchange program thing there, which is cool.
I always forget about that, honestly.
I kind of do too. It was so long ago at this point. It's like another life. But I did like a 4-week thing where we backpacked around Costa Rica. Like I literally stayed with like a host family. It was like 15 kids from America. Like it was really cool. And it was my first real like experience on my own. I was 16. I turned 17 in Costa Rica. And I haven't been back since. So me and Robbie are going to go. We're going to fish. We're going to stay in I don't think it's a hut. I think it's a condo.
TBD on what the living conditions are.
Yeah. You know how that goes when you travel. The photos are like, oh, look at this gorgeous resort. And you show up and it's like mud hut. So like, I don't know. I have no idea.
But it'll be cool. I've never been to Costa Rica, so...
Can't wait. Well, thank you.
Are there like lots of birds and tropical?
It's a rainforest.
Okay. Like parrots and stuff?
Yeah, there's tons of birds. There's like howler monkeys who literally howl at you. They're really loud and
I love howler
scary.
monkeys. They sound like they're belching.
Yes. And they throw their feces at you. They're very known to do that. So
I like the howler monkeys.
Yeah. So stay tuned for all of the fun wildlife updates in about 2 weeks. And we're doing like a night tour thing where we actually go into the jungle at night with a guide. And they show you all the kind of lit up nighttime activity.
Oh, that's cool. The persimmons with their big eyeballs and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm excited. It's mostly for Robbie's birthday. And we're going to like, again, he just wants to fish and do like the sport fishing and all of that, which we're going to do. But it's also going to be some free time and some national park. And
so his birthday's on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just connected those dots.
Yeah.
And you're going to be there, right? You're not. Okay.
It's a fishing day, so it's going to be all day fishing on his birthday.
Oh, man.
I know. And
you are a good girl.
Oh,
good woman.
Thank you. I'm doing my best. No, I enjoy fishing. I've never done this specific type of fishing. So we'll see. Like, I hope I'm strong enough to like hoist in these like larger fish. We're going to find out.
With waves and you're in the ocean, right?
Well, it's not like deep sea fishing. It's like inshore, but we can request to go deep sea as well.
Don't go. You never go too far from the shore.
I don't know. We'll see how adventurous they get. But I'm pumped. Hopefully I'll put some content out on my social media. Like, you know how I am. I always say I'm going to, and I completely forget when I'm there. But I will try to find some cool stuff and show you guys.
It's the thought that counts.
Thank you. I'm always thinking about it. Even though I'm not doing it, I'm thinking of you guys.
Thought is there.
Thought is there. Yeah, but what are your plans for Thanksgiving?
I'm going to go see my parents.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And they're in town now.
They live pretty close by now. They live about 2 hours north. They moved. So that's exciting.
Yay. And it's going to be a whole Thanksgiving traditional feast and all that?
I think so. That's what's always funny with parents, right? It always kind of starts off like, hey, no obligation, but if you want to come, we're going to do something really small and casual. Okay.
Yep.
And then it turned into, we're really looking forward to this. I've already got the list together. I'm already shopping for everything. And then it's turned into, I couldn't find the right type of turkey that I wanted. So I ordered it from my favorite place in California. They're shipping the turkey. And
that's
the expectations,
it progresses.
It's escalating. The expectations are getting higher and higher, but that's fine. Like, it's fun for, I think, us to look forward to something that does feel a little bit more official and not just a thrown together thing.
Exactly.
Like, it gives something for my parents to put together, look forward to. It'll just be Jake and I and the dog, Penny, who you may hear barking at some point because she's
very vocal
today. She's in a mood. She's been very snarky today. Also, Penny does this thing now. So when Jake and I bicker, he always likes to point out that I always have to get in the last word. I think it's something that I was raised with.
I think it's a woman thing as well.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like a whatever, like I have to say the last word.
I like it to be really mean. Like a complete, dig deep, like, just like your father.
Sometimes like the things that come out of my mouth, I'm like, oh my God, where did this evil person come from?
Yeah.
But I always have to get in the last word. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's a thing of mine. And my dog she's getting older and she's really set in her ways. And she's just been very vocal. And there's just been a lot of movement going around my neighborhood. Like our neighbors are remodeling. Our other neighbor was in the process of moving out today. There's just a lot happening.
Yeah.
She just keeps barking and she's little. So she's yappy bark. And I'll be like, Penny, shut up. And she'll make eye contact with me and just go, Wah.
She has one little.
She does one little, just a last word. Like, I know. Like, it won't be a full bark, but just like, huh.
Because you taught her, if you're a strong woman, you say
get
the last
word. And Jake's just like, wonder where she got that from.
You're like, she's the worst. What did I raise? She's like,
mother like daughter. I call her my dog-ter. Like mother like dog-ter.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
I need a son-ter. What do you call a dog that's a son?
A
pup.
A dun.
Sport. I'll come up with a cool one. We got good things coming up. And I will say that's one thing Megan and I have in common is that we both are not from Arizona.
Yeah.
So it is hard because a lot of people don't realize like, oh, you don't really have family for holidays. You don't do like a traditional, I'm going to go to my mom's for Mother's Day or Easter or Thanksgiving's in town.
Quick day trip.
Yeah. You don't really get that. Like everything, if you're going to see your family has to be a big trip and very planned. So the fact that you even get that time with your family.
Yeah. It's a nice advantage we have now. Yeah. It's like, they're about 2 hours. So close, but not too close. You have to plan for it.
Perfect distance.
Great distance. Highly recommend.
I love that.
I'm glad that you're traveling too. I'm like sad. I love traveling with you. We always have like fun traveling stories.
I know. We have to lay out. Well, we have to lay out our 2025 calendar because I want more trips with you. I think you should come to one of my.
I can't travel 20. I have
fine.
Too many
you did
trips.
say that. You actually did say that.
I mean, I probably will,
but we have to at least think about whenever our next trip is going to be. And I love traveling with Megan because again, we always have a good time because we naturally obviously just compliment each other well.
I kind of like you. I like hanging out with you. I don't know. We haven't killed each other yet.
No. And and we both know too, we're good travelers. We're not going to freak out on each other ever. If one of us gets quiet or needs space, normally me, I just am quiet for an hour and then I'm like, hey, later, let's do this. She's like, okay, cool. We're good. But I forgot I didn't tell this story ever, but we have the funniest story from,
what?
I can't believe I didn't say this after we got back from London, but
I don't know what you're going to say.
I know, that's why I'm excited for you, excited for our listeners. So when we were traveling back from London, so London trip had happened, we're connecting in JFK in New York, and Megan's credit card got us lounge access, right?
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
I know, it was a dope lounge too, because it was the American Express one, right?
Yeah, it was like a speakeasy.
Yeah, no free ads, but American Express lounge at JFK has a hidden door. So you go past the regular bar and it's just this big wooden door that you just push open. And then it's this cool, very lively, small, speakeasy type thing.
Dark aesthetic.
Yeah.
Very like a smoky lounge.
They did a good job with it.
It's cool.
So we go there, we're really excited, and it was like kind of a long layover, so we wanted alcohol, but we didn't want to get too like sleepy.
It was a long layover. It was like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah. Which felt like when we travel, like again, 10-hour road trip feels like nothing. It's like it just goes by fast.
Oh, so easy.
Yeah, so easy. But we're in the lounge and like we both got espresso martinis. And like Megan drank hers so fast.
No. I didn't like it. Remember?
Are you sure?
I know. Really, no, because I know what you're gonna say, and that was part of the story.
Okay.
Was because I didn't like it. I've never really had an espresso martini before.
Okay.
Don't judge me.
Yeah.
And I gave it to you, and I wanted something else.
That's right. So we both had espresso martinis. I now have 2.
Yeah, you were double fisting the espresso martinis.
I mean, I was wired. I had so much to say.
It's all a blur at this point.
But so Megan's like, I'm gonna go up and get another drink, and I think you just got like a bourbon or like a
simple. I didn't need something all fancy.
Yeah. And like I saw Megan talking to the bartender, and they were kind of like chuckling, and I was like, oh, I wonder what like joke Megan's telling the bartender. And then
telling him about Beheaded Podcast.
Probably. She slips a business card. But she comes back. I was like, oh, what was so funny? And she's like, oh, she was just wondering like why I needed to drink so quickly when I just got my first one. And she's like, and I told her like, oh, it's not me, it's Patricia. And we were laughing because if you know the movie Split, it's like it's a dark movie, but it's about a guy with multiple personalities. And anytime he does something bad, he blames his personality called Patricia. So like a lot of people know that quote. It's a very quotable movie. Like,
it's like a meme now. They go, that wasn't me. That's Patricia.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you know, you know, kind of thing. And I feel like a lot of people do know that. But apparently this lady did not so I laughed about it. I was like, oh, that's funny. Haha. And then I go back after like I finish, I guess both now that I'm thinking of this story.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under on that one.
I'm like, damn, I guess I finished both. And then at some point I go back to the bar to get like something else. Maybe I'm going to say I got a water. Who knows? But I go back and she goes, oh, you must be Patricia. I was like, and I just took my drink from her and I look at her, I was like, yes, I am.
And from that moment on, because we were there for so long, just like camping out,
I had to be known as Patricia.
The whole bar then knew Elizabeth as Patricia.
Yeah.
And somehow we just like make friends where we go. And before we know it, everyone.
Yeah. So I was then Patricia and I couldn't change it. I couldn't explain it because at that point it's just too far gone.
Until they needed like your card or something. And they're like,
wait,
Elizabeth Black.
Wait, are you Elizabeth Patricia? Where did Patricia come from?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I just thought that was a funny story.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under with the martini situation. I guess in hindsight, it didn't matter what happened to the martini.
Either way, we weren't driving. We were flying.
We were
feeling good.
We had a long flight back from JFK to Arizona,
exactly.
And we slept. It was great.
Well, you did. I was wired.
7 espresso martinis
caffeinated
later.
And a little drunk, probably.
Anyway. Oh, all right. Really quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Before we get into our execution story, we wanted to give a huge thank you to everyone who has helped support Beheaded Podcast.
As you may know, we are working to upgrade our audio and visual equipment, and we need your help in making that happen.
Special shout out to our newest contributors, Linda from California, Scott from Connecticut, and Cannon Fodder David.
If you enjoy listening to Beheaded, there are a few ways that you can show your support.
The easiest thing you can do right now as you're listening is to leave us a rating wherever you find our show.
Like, follow, and share our content on social media, especially Instagram and YouTube.
You can also buy us a coffee, whether it's $1 or £100.
Ooh, how much is £100?
More than $1. But anything you send will go directly towards our technology upgrades and keeping this podcast going.
And now, back to the execution.
So we have a really good story for you tonight. This is actually a listener-submitted story.
Another one! Our last one was also listener-submitted. And, you know, I can't snap.
These are my snaps.
These are my snaps.
Yeah.
My snap?
6 years of cheerleading for you. Okay.
Thank you to Blaine, who recommended this one. Honestly, it's not that we're running out of stories by any means. There's so many executions, also big ones we are intentionally not touching yet. Scattering. These unique ones.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when someone's like, I've heard of this, but I kind of want to hear the full story from you guys. So I feel honored that you trust the experts. I feel honored that you trust us with this information.
Yeah.
But thanks, Blaine, for sliding into my DM. That sounds way. Do I need to change that? That sounded creepier than I meant.
Okay.
Thanks for contacting me very professionally through social media
via direct message
and sharing this story with me.
Yes, and for those of you that are creeps, do not slide into Megan's DMs or my DMs for that matter.
I'm okay with it.
She's like, well, don't say that.
I still like talking to people. I still want friends.
Well, yes, just not in the creepy tone.
No creepy tones.
Okay.
No creepy tones
in
here.
the professional execution tone.
Really quick before I keep interrupting you though. One more interruption.
Yes.
Weird messages on social media lately.
I know.
Weird ones.
Bots, I think.
I think they're bots. They may not be. Some lady who wanted me to slow down on the video content so that she could share our history with the youth. And I'm like, ma'am.
The youths of America.
Ma'am, this is not the history you should be sharing with youths. This is this is history on torture and executions.
Yeah, we have a parental advisory note, and we say the occasional F-bomb.
Yeah.
Like, not for the youths. Unless you really want to raise like the cool as hell youth.
Yeah, maybe. But it was like a very weird, like reprimanding message that I got about I don't think she listens to the show. If you do, I mean, you know if you're who I'm talking about,
right.
You know if it's you. But no, she was saying like the videos that I create, I need to make them slower so
the kids can understand.
The kids can watch them.
This isn't meant for you. Just find something else.
Sorry, I just had to say I've been getting weird messages lately, and
you should put a link to like Magic School Bus.
I'm about to get real sassy on people.
Yeah, or like here's Wishbone the dog, the genius of our era.
My customer support manager hat comes off at a certain hour, and I'm no longer that person anymore, and I'm going to say whatever I want to say.
Good.
So, okay, continue.
Here.
Cheers, and let's share the story from Blaine.
I had to sip, otherwise bad luck.
Oh.
All right. Our lady of tonight is Agnes Bernauer. And so Agnes comes to us from Bavaria in the Middle Ages. And I think she would agree with your take of being a spicy woman without her customer service hat on.
Yeah. Go Agnes.
So Agnes was born around 1410. And because she was a commoner, again, not a whole lot known of her early life or her girlhood. But we think her father was perhaps a barber surgeon, which we're going to get into, from Osbury, which is like southern Germany. Excuse me, Augsburg. You know my handwriting. G's and Y's look the same. Augsburg, southern Germany. And his name was Caspar Bernauer. Again, not confirmed because she doesn't have like, strong lineage or like anything, but we think that's what her father, what his name was. And if he was in fact a barber surgeon, that's super fascinating because I dug into this a little bit. First of all, you're like barber surgeon, like why are those two things in the same sentence? And we'll start kind of backwards. But a barber surgeon was essentially somebody who was obviously a barber who cut hair. And because they were so good with with razors, and I'm assuming they had scissors or some kind of thing back then.
Razors, I guess. I'm thinking Sweeney Todd style.
Exactly, like the old school kind of blades. But because they were good with blades, they were also tasked with like the first surgeries in history. Because if you really think about it, it was probably weird to in fact like cut someone open like for a long time in humanity, right?
Sure.
So like someone just got sick and they died. Like maybe you could tend to their wounds, or you could try to give them some sort of herbal remedy, but like you wouldn't really think to like dissect someone, right?
You don't really know what you're looking for.
Because you don't know what you're looking for, what you're doing.
For all they know, it was just bleeding and
right.
But they were really into amputations.
That is the one thing that probably started any kind of surgery was like, okay, if this is infected, cut it off. So like amputations were probably the first surgeries, like fairly, widespread. And they didn't really know anyone that was capable of performing that because they didn't have surgeons. You didn't need them, right? Back then. So who's good with
it or lose it? That was the theory.
So who's good with like, again, blades or razors or scissors or whatever you want to call them, like barbers? Yes, Megan.
I might be mixing things up because I know executioners were also used for a lot of medicinal things.
Yeah, I could see that.
You could see an executioner probably doing that too, but maybe not. Yes, I don't know.
But I think because we've talked about the stigma around executioners.
Yeah, they weren't like associated with helping.
With healing. Yeah.
But they'd also be good at that.
They would probably be better.
They could take off an arm.
Arguably much better than a barber could, right?
Hair and arms are two very different things.
Yeah, but in an era where it's like medieval times, get it?
God, you're so
I'll
funny.
be here all night. But you know, in that era, you're probably associating executioner with death and like, you know, bad luck. And when you think of a barber, they're very less threatening. So you're like, can you just cut off my leg, please? Like, nice barber down the street.
They have like, you know, and you go and like, which style would you like? The 1, 2, 3, or 4? They're like, just right at the kneecap, please. I'll take the number 5.
Do you want like a fade? Do you want a little?
You want some layering?
Yeah, I want some layering. We could really do some nice face angles.
Add a nice bow at the end.
Yeah.
Oh God, we're sick.
So, so that's a fun fact. But also, I went down this little rabbit hole of like, where did kind of barbers come from originally? Because again, also somewhat of a modern thing to actually cut your hair. And barbers came around the same time in the Middle Ages, and they were around to fix this very specific monk haircut. You know, the monk haircut where it's like bald in the center and then kind of a bowl cut around.
Which I'm fascinated by.
Yeah.
How do you even get that?
That was like,
do you shave a circle?
Yeah. You shave a circle and then you
you
probably do like just the bottom. Cut. I guess so.
I had a bowl cut when I was a kid.
I think we all did.
I didn't have the top part shaved too. That was the...
Oh, I would love to see that photo of young Megan. We can AI that later.
Oh God, no.
But it was called a torser, I think, which is the name of the haircut. So again, barbers weren't really needed until like specific hairstyles were needed. So the Catholic monks needed their haircut that way, which why? Who knows why they came up with that, but that's what they needed. And then barbers were born, and then surgeons were born, and you had barber surgeons.
That was like the first haircut.
I think so.
That was the first style that came around, I feel like.
Pre-Marie Antoinette.
Why am I also, like, where my brain is going right now?
Yes.
Like, think of the Green Mile when they would do executions by electricity, and they would also shave the top of your head like that to put the sponge on.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't
burn your hair. It doesn't. No one wants to smell burnt hair during
they revived that style, and see, it all comes together.
Exactly. I think you're supposed to have all your hair cut off, though, wasn't it?
Maybe.
Because it's, again, the electricity coursing through your body is like
probably. Actually, you might be right.
Just frying all your hair.
Also, real quick, the book that I feel like I always mention, the Executioner of Prague.
Oh yeah.
That was like a really big part of the executioner's process too, was cutting people's hair. So it's funny how these roles overlap, I feel like. Barber, surgeon, and executioners are...
We should write that book, Barber, Surgeon, Executioner.
Which one is it?
Yeah.
Which path do you want to take?
Fascinating literature, that is.
The guidebook, too.
I like that.
Good background.
So that's a little bit of background on her supposed father, which, again, not a whole lot of records on him, but these are what's believed kind of after the fact. So when she is 18, this is now 1828, she goes to a tournament with her father. And she meets someone named Albert. So Albert, he's actually Albert III, and he's the future Duke of Bavaria, which means that his father is the current Duke of Bavaria, and his name is Ernest. And so at the time, Albert's actually engaged to somebody else. Her name is Elizabeth. No last name, because why do they have last names? And of course, Elizabeth, because there's a million of us.
Everyone.
Yeah. But she's the daughter of Eberhard III, who is Count of Württemberg. And so they're betrothed, and she actually ends up like eloping with somebody else entirely. So she falls for a commoner, and so she marries this other person. I think his name is John of Windenburg. And he's actually just a page at her father's court. So he's still, somewhat of status, but he's just kind of a low-born person that she's not really allowed to marry, which is why they elope. So here, poor Albert is like probably upset, maybe, even if he liked her or doesn't like her, either way. It does, like, it's just the fact that you're kind of snubbed and your betrothed ran off with somebody else. So around this time, he meets young Agnes, who's 18 years old, looking lovely at a tournament.
Actually very lovely. There's not a whole lot on Agnes, but something that almost every single resource was really emphasizing was her beauty.
Right.
Her long blonde hair, and she was so fair and beautiful, and everybody just turned heads when she walked by.
Oh, I didn't see anything of her account.
Really?
Yeah, well, because her picture was just
not that cute. Not that cute.
No, but like her hair was covered in the picture.
Oh, true.
Right?
Well,
yeah.
I do kind of want to preface this story as well, is
lots of rumors around this.
It comes with almost a lot of folklore that goes into this story as well. Agnes is obviously a very real person, or else we wouldn't be having her as an episode.
Right.
But it has transformed into a lot of different stories and plays and whatnot. So
legend.
the lines do get blurred just a little bit. Like, for example, I also read in a different rendition that, yes, she was the daughter of a barber surgeon, but somehow also made her way into being a bather at the middle age style bath. And what that
like a bathhouse.
A bathhouse, thank you, that's the right word.
Yeah.
And what bathhouses was a public place that anyone can go to, except for Jews. That was like,
oh my God.
I know, I'm not saying that, it was like a disclaimer that
I wasn't expecting that.
I was reading about middle-aged bathhouses, and they said it was like in Bavaria, very strong rule against Jews. But other than that, you can pay.
In Germany, shocking.
You can pay to go in. And it was a lot of half-naked women in very thin clothing, and they would offer a bath and massages, and it was like a spa, but it was always all classes went there, and it wasn't seen as a bad thing.
Right.
I wrote it down. They did call it bath prostitution, but it wasn't like nothing truly dirty was happening.
Okay.
I mean, again,
Probably.
blurred lines
Right.
from what it's supposed to be, the intent of it.
I mean, I hate to say nowadays, but kind of nowadays, right?
Yeah,
like,
it depends on where you
time,
go.
I was going to say, yeah, most of the time you go somewhere and you're just having a nice massage. Other times you go to certain places expecting certain things. So it's like, that might be kind of the case then, where overall it wasn't probably seen as necessarily like, oh, you're going to get a happy ending, but they happened.
Things happen a lot of behind the curtain that we don't even want to know about.
Behind the bath curtain.
But with that said, supposedly Agnes also could have been one of the bathers.
Sure.
Which I think just adds to her reputation of, yes, beautiful, a little bit scandalous, and definitely a commoner.
Right. Because you wouldn't hold that position as a lady of status.
No, you would not have. So
right.
Kind of funny then that Albert's first betrothed went off to go to a commoner. He, in tune, is also attracted to a commoner.
Exactly. And I always wonder when you hear little like snippets in history like that, like chicken or the egg, it's like, did he meet Agnes first, fall in love with her, and maybe his betrothed sensed it, ran away with somebody else? Or maybe the betrothed kind of knew about this commoner first, told him, and then he's like, I'm going to find a commoner of my own. Like,
You found one, I'll find one.
Yeah,
Easy.
yeah. I mean, and maybe none of these theories happen. Maybe they just truly were never, wanting to be together, found other people. Great. But I always like to think about the sequence of events of like, oh, like, whose heartbreak was first and what caused what, because these things matter.
Something tells me men seem to get a little bit more wounded, a little bit more sensitive.
They're
so
very sensitive.
I'm assuming things.
I always say women fall easy, but men fall hard. You know what I mean? Like, I think as women, we're always like, oh my gosh, I like him. Like, oh my gosh, he's cute. Like, oh my gosh, this could work out. And like, but then we're over it quickly, usually. And then guys, when they fall, they're like,
this is the love of my
dead.
life.
Cannot function. So take that for what it is. Piece of free advice from my dating column. Right, so now brings us back to our story of the evening about Agnes. So Agnes and Albert are officially like having eyes for each other, right? And at this point, his betrothal is dissolved. So he kind of brings her to the Munich court. And again, how long this took, who knows, but it is confirmed by 1432, which is when she's 22 years old. She's like a prominent member of the Munich court in Germany. So she's kind of there again in a little bit of, it reminds me a little bit of Versailles, where you're not officially sure of someone's capacity, like why they're there. Are they strictly a mistress? Was there a secret marriage ceremony? Like there's a lot of kind of mystery around her being there. It was confirmed that she's there. She's very well known. She's making a little bit of like a wave at court because again, she's a commoner. She's not supposed to be there, but it is we're not sure if she's just there as a mistress or if she's actually married to Albert, but it's more of like a secret kind of shameful marriage.
Or does she like coerce herself in? Is she being a little sneaky? How did she get into this court lifestyle? Who knows?
Right.
I would love to know.
I know. And we do know that they most likely did live together though, because there was like proof that properties around her had been sold. So like it was speculated where she lived in town, but regardless of where she lived, those properties were sold. So where else would she go? And Albert frequented the Blutenberg Castle. So there is a lot of belief that they were both living at the Blutenberg Castle together. But regardless of whether they were married or weren't, lived together or didn't, they confirmed had no children together, no descendants by them. And the only few notes that we had about people's kind of reactions to her at court was his sister, Albert's sister, Beatrix, was super annoyed by her. She confirmed did not like her at all.
I love how there's like not a lot of record. Everything we're saying is like, man, we think she did this. We don't know how she got into here.
Right.
Very valid. Sister hated her. Sister-in-law hated her.
She probably had a diary and was like, this bitch. Again.
She said she didn't like her because she was so self-assured. Go Agnes.
Which probably meant she was just pretty and confident. So sorry. Sorry, Beatrix.
People get jealous.
And your name's Beatrix. It sucks.
Her name is Agnes.
That's true. Yeah, Agnes. Maybe that was a cute name back then. It's like, oh, Agnes.
Oh man.
So that's bringing us up to speed with where she's at in court.
So Albert is the only son of the Duke of Bavaria.
Yes.
His name is Ernest.
Cute.
So obviously for Ernest, lineage is everything. Lineage is so important. He needs to know that his son is going to carry on the line with sons, with valid sons. He has to be married to someone also of an elite status.
Yes.
Have those boys. Like, we know the story. We know how
familiar?
it goes.
Yeah.
We've seen this story before. And the last thing he wants to hear is that Albert is rendezvousing off with a commoner.
Yep.
Maybe even a bather. Like, we don't know.
Bath prostitute.
A bath prostitute. And so this is a really big deal. And he's obviously outraged over this. Again, like Elizabeth said, we don't know even if they were truly married or they were just living together and a true couple.
Living in sin.
Regardless, his dad was not going to have it. And like, I feel like we've seen that, we've heard this before of the father-in-law who doesn't approve of the new woman in his son's life.
Right.
And, you know, there are parents who might take some drastic measures. They might want to ban the person. They might want to kick them out.
Get in a big public fight with them.
Yeah, they may want to like, you know, ruin their good name, start some rumors. But that's not what Ernest, the Duke of Bavaria, does.
No.
He takes it just a little bit too far. He arranges a lovely hunt for his son, Albert. So Albert is set up to have a great day with the boys. They're going to go off hunting and have a whole day planned, probably a picnic and a feast. And they're going to go find some boars and whatever.
And who knows if the hunt wasn't a few days too, right? Like, who knows how long? Because sometimes hunts back then in the Middle Ages, they set up like a camp, you know.
There was a whole ordeal.
Yeah, it might
like
not
your
have
fishing trip.
Well, yeah, thank you.
You go on an excursion.
He's going to Costa Rica. He's got like night tours planned. He's going to bring back a bunch of marlin, you know, a bunch of sport fish.
So whether it was a day or a few days, regardless, he arranges a hunt for his son. In the time, like as soon as Albert leaves, he has Agnes arrested.
Yep.
And he arrests her under charges of witchcraft.
Witchcraft.
Out of the blue.
Out of nowhere.
His argument is that she, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like ascended to court too quickly?
That she had him under a spell. Kind of like what Henry VIII said. What's the word I'm looking for? It's on the tip of my tongue. When you
seduce somebody?
Seduce, but you put them...
You enchant
someone. God, it's like there's a word, and you know, don't you hate that when you know the word?
I think I know which word you're thinking of, and I can't.
Start with a D.
It starts with a D.
Shut up.
You bewitch someone.
Thank you.
Okay,
I was close. B-D. God, I hate that. I hate that when the word is right there.
Because you need that specific word.
It's like not a fancy word. It's a word we all know. I'm not trying to like be elaborate with my dictionary here.
Bewitched.
That's exactly what Ernest was saying. He believed that Agnes bewitched Albert.
Right.
There's no way that his son
could just be attracted to this commoner.
It has to be witchcraft. I really, really wish that we had a full detail of what happened afterwards.
Right.
That would be like the perfect like full story to this. Every single thing we read, this whole part is done in like 1 to 2 sentences. So I'm going to try to break it apart as much as I can. All we know is he arrested her. convinced everybody that she was guilty of being a witch.
Right. Okay.
Supposedly, if there was a trial, that had to have happened very quickly without any evidence whatsoever.
Yeah, zero evidence.
All we know is in the end, she was sentenced to death,
and
not in like your typical way.
Right.
She was sentenced to drowning. And all we know about what happened is they dragged her off to the, I'm going to say it wrong.
Danube.
The Danube River.
Which I hope I'm actually saying that right. I always have said it that way, and I hope that's excuse me.
No, keep it going. I'm loving it.
I know you love it. I hope that's
the tip of the tongue.
What did you say? Okay. I hope it's the correct pronunciation. I always call it the Danube, but I also used to call the Thames the Thames. So the Thames River. So who knows?
The Gowl.
The Gowl.
On October 12, 1435, they drag her to the river and they bound her hands and her feet and they toss her in.
And said, swim, witch.
Swim. So we've all heard about the dunking of witches, witch. Different information and different pieces on it. Like Susanna Lipscomb recently had something really interesting about whether they actually did this or did they not do this.
Right.
But supposedly what they would do is they would tie a woman, bound her up and see if she'll drown or if she can swim. If she can swim, it means she's a witch because she's using magic to float.
Clearly.
If she drowns, then she drowns and she's innocent. If she floats and she is a witch, she's going to get executed anyway. So it never works out. I think we've all kind of heard this theory before.
Right. And a typical witch execution is burning at the stake.
Correct. And I actually don't think their intention here with Agnes, I don't think it was a test. I don't think it was a dunking test. I think they truly threw her in so that she would drown.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so. I don't think this was a dunking because I feel like there would have been more information about a trial and evidence in dunking, or at least just the dunking. This was more just like he arrested her and drowned her. So I feel like regardless of wherever this was going, it was like, you're dying in that water.
Yeah. And also with dunking, a lot of times it was used as a method of torture and getting information out of them. Like they might tie them to a chair of sorts.
And kind of like bring them up.
Yeah, bring them up and down.
Sounds kind of fun.
Are you thinking of Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yes, I am.
Don't tell him, Carlos.
No.
And the guy's in the well, go, and then he comes back up and he's
Which did you know? Because I watched the behind the scenes on that on Disney Plus. No free ads. Was that's supposed to be the mayor of the town? The guy.
I watched that too, which I don't think they came across very well with that.
Yeah, they should have done better. Why? Because he has a big house.
Maybe.
And a stout wife. Why are you the mayor? How am I supposed to know that?
I have no idea. Anyways, so Agnes is bound by hands and feet, thrown into the river, and there's a huge crowd. This is like the most chaotic thing that's probably happened in their town for a long time.
And she's well known.
This is also 1435.
Yes, so she's 25 years old.
25 years old. And in Germany, witchcraft was really just becoming... Like, there's different stages of when witchcraft kind of hit its peak of hysteria.
Yeah. Well, and even in King Henry VIII's time, because we talked about this a lot with Anne Boleyn, and how witchcraft wasn't necessarily like a thing quite yet. Like, it wasn't a real charge. There was such thing as witches.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like an official, like you could kill someone for being a witch.
Just saying you're a witch.
Yeah. So it's like that all came a little bit later, but there is still in history this evolution of witch persecution.
Correct. And I'm excited because I feel like throughout this season we have a lot of witchy themed things. So we're not gonna get too much into what's happening in the era of witchcraft right now because that's gonna come a little bit later. Right. Hopefully, don't hold me to that. That's the plan. We'll see what happens.
Depending on how many listeners slide into Megan's DMs. How many people send her gifts?
I can't wait to open up my social media for this. She actually is able to free one foot, supposedly, and she's yelling, help, help, help. And everyone's staring down at her, and she almost makes it to shore. And they called it the torturer, but like really the executioner. He had this big pole. And again, she had this long blonde hair. And so he kind of like swirled it around her and got her hair caught in it and rolled her hair up into, like, cranked it up into this pole.
Like a French twist.
Kind of. Like, I imagine, like, kind of cranking it around. Swirling it around. And then he pushes her down on the head and then holds her down underwater using the pole.
That'll do it. How can you escape that as a woman unless you cut your hair? Like,
you can't. You can't.
Ugh.
So that's what happens to Agnes.
Mm-hmm.
Albert comes back from his hunt.
Yeah.
And he's like, why is everyone so weird?
Why is everyone being weird towards me?
What'd I miss?
Yeah. So he finds out that his love, the person he brought to Munich court, has been executed. Like, and obviously quickly, right? Like, he wasn't involved in this. He doesn't know how this even happened. I'm sure there was no whisperings of witchcraft or, anything going on before he left. So he was quite in a state of shock. So much so that he actually left right away. He abandoned the castle. He abandoned his father, Ernest, and he went to live with his father's rival, who happened to be Ernest's cousin.
Good for him.
Yeah.
F you guys.
Exactly. And his name was Louis VII, Ernest's cousin was. And so there was at this point, almost threats of civil war. Like, this could destroy the country because Albert is so infuriated that this happened while he was gone. And obviously he knows at this point that he was probably set up to leave in the first place, which, really quick, she'd been living there for 3 years. So it is a little odd that did it take 3 years to make this plan, or 3 years for them to realize that she's not going anywhere? Like, that's a big amount of time for her to be at court and then be like, you know what, go on a hunt, we're going to kill her. It just seems like an odd amount of time.
I don't know. I would love to know that. Like, was there a breaking point?
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, how premeditated was this?
Yes, exactly.
We don't know. Take it for what it is.
Like, was she just being obnoxiously drunk one night at dinner 6 months earlier, and they made the plan and yo, you got to take this guy on a hunt. We got to be rid of this.
Or was it the week before?
I know.
We are just the messengers of this story.
Exactly. But things I would love to know further. So at this point, there's threat of civil war, all of this going on, but it seems to die down fairly quick. I think there's finally some sort of, I don't know if it's a talk or if it's I just kind of did this out of, protection for you and the family and the succession or blah, blah, blah.
Fake love. No.
But it happens.
Don't take it.
Yeah, the reconciliation happens within a year. And by November of the next year, 1436, Albert's already married to a new person called Anna of Brunswick.
A valid, elite
woman.
Someone obviously who his father pre-approved.
Exactly.
So I want to know, there's just so much to this that I can only fathom what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was just a sign of the times when I think he got into his son of you don't have control over
your life and your life.
Yeah, you are going to marry this person.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe the reconciliation was just a fake. It's a political move. I'm sure he hated his father forever.
He did.
If someone took my girl, if I'm seeing a guy, and then all of a sudden I come home and all my friends were like, "Oh yeah, we killed him.
We never liked him.
We didn't like him. We had a sham trial, got him arrested, and threw him in a river."
Yeah. We threw him in the Salt River in Arizona. But that's cool, right? We're all good?
I don't think I'd be making up with you within a year. So,
but you might be married within a year.
Maybe if I'm desperate. But
for political reasons.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, this is 1436. I have to get to that mindset.
It's true. And your life wasn't that long. Your life expectancy was
true. He's already about at the end.
He's I better marry quickly. But anyway, he was still distraught by all of this, and he wanted to do something to honor Agnes. So he ended up creating a little chapel where he lived, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, but it's the Strasbourg Carmelite Cloister.
Oh, I didn't have the full name.
I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. Cloister sounds French.
Even more confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I also read that it was the father who agreed to make the chapel, which is completely conflicting.
I did read that too, and I wonder.
We don't know.
Maybe that was part of their reconciliation.
Fine,
hey,
I'll make a chapel for her.
We'll make a chapel.
Sorry, I did that.
Go marry Anna Brunswick. You know what I mean? Maybe that was part of the
Agnes will live on in memory.
Right.
So sorry about that.
So they created a perpetual mass for her, an annual memorial service for her, and where she was buried, which controversial actually, because people are still trying to figure out where her actual remains are. but I'm going to say where she was quote unquote buried, there's this big like red marble tombstone, and it has kind of a relief sculpture on it. And it's a picture of like her head lying on a pillow. She's got like 2 rings on and a rosary, and she also has 2 small dogs near her feet. Is what the relief looks like.
Such an odd choice. Like how peaceful that she's laying on a pillow.
What is that about? Like
that she's content with where she is now.
Like she had a comfortable station at the end of her life.
Such weird symbolism. Also, supposedly unintentionally, they put the wrong date of death on her effigy.
Yeah, they did. They put 1436.
Yeah, it was correct day. They put October 12th or the 12th of October, 1436. Dude, that happened a year ago in 1435.
Yeah.
Is that just negligence? Are you trying to like make a stab? Like we actually don't care?
Yeah, like it doesn't matter. Either way, she's dead and her body might not even be here.
It's kind of terrible, the whole thing.
It is. And they, again, according to what we've read, like apparently there's been searches for her body on the grounds and no one's been able to actually find her remains. And they're not sure if it's because they were never there in the first place or because they were like moved, or if there was maybe some just construction that happened like with the building and at some point like her grave was filled or something. So a lot of weird things around this. And apparently in the 1800s, like it became a really big tourist destination. People wanted to visit this chapel. They wanted to visit her tomb. And so the locals kind of started loving this like new fame with their area. So all the locals started getting involved in circulating crazy rumors, like stuff that probably had nothing to do with the actual history. And maybe even some of what we told you is more based on rumor than fact. But there's like silly little rumors, like maybe Albert and Agnes were actually brother and sister who were switched at birth, and the reason Ernest was so opposed to the marriage is because it would be incestuous to have them marry each other. Like what?
I also kind of similar to that. I read one where they weren't necessarily brother and sister, but were somehow also switched at birth. But that meant that Agnes should have been royalty and Albert should have been the commoner.
Sure. Yeah.
But same thing, that Ernest was like trying to hide this whole thing up.
Yeah. Like so, I think
so silly.
The locals got a lot of like
they got a little ahead of themselves.
Like
on that.
Telephone game of like they got a kick out of people coming to visit this tomb, and they're like, why is this tomb so important? So they started to embellish it, and over time, you know, Agnes has had songs written about her, music, like compositions, like tons of speculation again about what people did with her body afterwards. Like maybe certain troops or whatever took it and they did like, I don't know, they spread her body parts around the different parts of the country, like crazy different stuff.
So crazy, which is actually a very this woman, I just feel like was so demeaned while being alive, and then murdered, and then even beyond her death. It's great that at least she has a memory, but it's so tarnished. And even the fact that it came up that maybe she was one of the bathers or the bath workers, even that, if that were me and if that were not true, I'd be like, oh my God, can we move on? That was not the case. We just don't know. Obviously, this was, what, 600 years ago?
It was, almost to the day.
Yeah. But yeah, I do think the legacy that lives on is really interesting, and that's something that really caught our eye. There was so little about a trial or anything else, but what we do know is just all the aftermath. So like Elizabeth said, there was plays, there's folk songs, there's musicals. There's a version of solitaire named after her.
And a recipe.
And a recipe for cake?
For cake, yeah.
Called it's like, if you just search on Google Agnes Bernauer, it'll come up with different solitaire games that you can play. And I was very confused by that.
Which, like, obviously we're not from Germany, so I don't know how common that name is, but that doesn't seem like a very common name.
It's like based on her in some way.
Like it's not like the Mary Smith solitaire game or like Mary Smith, like, you know, like rum cake or whatever it is. It's just funny that things are named after her. It's like her weird. Legend has become almost bigger than her actual 25 years of life.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, she still has her name out there. It's still a very epic story.
Yeah, and like the story that in the plays and the musicals, it's really a story of true love between her and Albert.
Yes.
And then of course just the terrible accusations that would come after women and the misogyny behind it and just how she got torn down so quickly for being in love with someone.
Yeah.
And then accused of being a witch.
It's true.
Come on.
And I will say, like, because we joke a lot on the show about how, like, if you don't have a reason to kill someone, it's treason. And I feel like witchcraft is right behind that.
Such a scapegoat.
It's like, if you're a man and they want to kill you, it's treason. If you're a woman and they want to kill you, witchcraft.
Just
like,
you're a witch.
It's just so easy, and you can have such little evidence or no evidence, or like, oh, well, he wished for the king to die, it's treason. You know, or she, again, bewitched this person to fall in love with her because there's no other way you can get a man to fall in love with you. Like,
it's all based on
witchcraft.
fear. It's all based on fear. And in Germany, that was really prevalent. So again, stay tuned to more episodes of Beheaded because we have so much to say about witchcraft.
Good witchy stuff coming up.
Good witchy stuff.
Yeah, I know. We sprinkled in some witch stuff before, but I feel like, again, thank you to our listeners, because a lot of them have come forward with more witch stories, and now we have some really good themes coming up.
Yep.
Different areas that we haven't talked about in terms of like where in the world different witch trials are happening. So.
Yeah. And I think also because I was in Germany this past summer and I dedicated some time to learning about witchcraft in Germany.
Yeah.
In my brain, it was always like Salem, England, but man, it's Eastern
pretty
Europe had some wild stories as well.
Exactly. I know.
This is one of them.
Naively, like I said, I always thought it was kind of limited just the East Coast of America.
Yeah, and Salem actually is probably the smallest example.
Because there was only 19 people.
Of a witch pandemic. But these older countries where it was happening for hundreds of years, and let's not even get into like James the First and all of that yet. But
well, I'm going to be on the lookout in Costa Rica.
Yeah, see if there's any good
See
witch
if there's
stories.
any witchy stuff. Who knows? Maybe I wasn't on the lookout last time. Now I am.
It's a worldwide issue. It was. It really was. So, so great story. Go, if anyone's like been to the chapel or if they've seen these effigies or
pictures.
Yeah, please share with us. It's one of those like kind of unique stories in history that can easily be overlooked, but is fascinating and a good lesson to not murder people when your son is off hunting. You just go and take a Target trip and you come back. Damn it.
Oh, I was just trying to go out to do a little Target shopping. This all happened while I was gone.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Any final words?
Oh, after that, just keep hacking away, everybody.
Wait, I like that.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense, given our content. Hey, that should be my new sign off. Hacking away. Just keep hacking away.
You heard it from her. Keep hacking away.
Love it.